Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here to react to Darkman. This is a donation reward for Sweet Venom, and yeah, I know practically nothing about this movie except what the character looks like, and I think it's a superhero film. I don't know if it's DC or anything like that, like some other um, superhero films have been. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's in this. I don't even know when this came out. But it's always something I've been interested in because again, I've seen the design of the character of I guess Darkman. Dude wearing like the trench coat, the hat, and his face is all bandaged up. Obviously, there's a story to that, and I kind of wonder what it is. But yeah, this was chosen as a donation reward from Sweet Venom, and so we're gonna get to it. Um, but yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. I also don't know what this is rated. I think I want to say it's rated R, but I'm not sure, and I'm definitely not confident in that. Um, but the file I found isn't the best quality, but it works. Like I've had, I think, worse quality videos before, so it's like it'll work. It'll do. But it's I don't know. It could be better as well, but it's what I found. It was what was easiest to get. So I thought it would be a fun idea. I actually was choosing between this and another movie that was on my list, and I chose this one. Just kind of, just randomly, I guess you could say. Because again, it was between this and another movie, and I was gonna decide based on runtime. But I checked the runtime, and both movies had literally the exact same runtime listed, and it's like, oh, like not even like a minute off, exactly the same. And it's like, oh, okay, I was not expecting that, but sure. I won't tell you what the other movie was, though. I'll leave you in suspense, because maybe that'll be the next one we react to. But yeah, so I just kind of just decided to go with this one. It's been on the list for a while, I think, so there's that reason too. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to get to this to see what it's like, and hopefully we enjoy it. Um, so, for the time being, let's just get on with it and hope that the movie is enjoyable. Yeah, I know what I'm saying. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, this was a pretty interesting film, and not entirely what I expected. So, I'm looking at this, and apparently, this came out in 1990. It is just considered, wow, it is just considered an American superhero film. And it's based on a short story that Sam Raimi wrote as an homage to the Universal horror films of the 30s, which is really interesting. Apparently, according to this, Raimi was trying to get the rights to The Shadow, which is a comic character and everything, but he was unable to, and so he just basically was like, okay, I'll just make my own superhero. And he made his own superhero. He struck a deal with Universal Studios and made this film. And yeah, really interesting little origin story for Darkman as a film there. um, and by the way, I was looking at the cast list, little fun thing here. You know Rick, the one goon who with the glasses who got his head run over when Darkman Payton stuck him out of the God, what's it called? The sewer? Great. He was Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother. And I feel like I should have recognized him because it's like I have recently been, well, semi recently been into The Quarry, a video game by the makers of Until Dawn, and Ted Raimi's in that. And it's like he's also in. Is he in all of the original Spider-Man trilogy? The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy? I think he is. He worked at the Daily Bugle. Apparently he was also in the Evil Dead movies, but I only saw the first one and I only saw it once and I didn't like it that much, so yeah. Um, but yeah, it's like I looked back, I checked what he looked like. It's like, oh yeah, that was very much him. I just didn't like I just didn't recognize him right off the bat, you know. Um, and there's some others that I know in here. Like Neil McDonough was in here as a dock worker, for example. Um, the Cohen brothers apparently were in here. Professor Toru Tanaka was in here. It's like a lot of names that I genuinely know. Um, but an interesting little thing. The final disguise that Darkman wears at the end. I'm looking at him like I was looking at. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to say it. I was looking at him like, is that Bruce Campbell? Like, and I looked up. It was Bruce Campbell because apparently Bruce Campbell was actually Sam Raimi's first choice. Um, he wanted Bruce Campbell because he had worked with him in The Evil Dead. He was friends with him and everything. You know, Bruce Campbell tends to star in Sam Raimi movies, or at least have a cameo in them. Like he even had a cameo in Multiverse of Madness. But the studio apparently rejected the idea because they did not think Campbell could carry the role. I don't think Bruce Campbell would have done as well at a more serious role. Bruce Campbell's a silly actor, and he could do the silly parts of this, but the serious parts, I'm not as sure. But to have him have a little cameo in there anyway, still great. Apparently, Gary Oldman and Bill Paxton were also considered, and I could very much have seen either of them doing, especially Gary Oldman. But I think Liam Neeson actually really did well here. I think he really sold the role. I think he had fun with the craziness that Peyton was undergoing because of the after effects of the of basically taking away his pain and everything. I think that was I think it was a good choice. I think it was a really really good choice. Um, and yeah, I think I think it was a good idea. And apparently, according to this, to research for the role, Neeson contacted the Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, an organization that supports the emotional and social healing of burn survivors. So he actually studied up on that, on how to act and portray someone who would have suffered through horrific burns. And I think that's really cool that he put the effort into finding out like how realistically that would be shown. Um, but yeah, and honestly, I think that this was kind of a ridiculous film. Like I've seen some superhero stuff where it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of silly and everything, but this one was actively really silly. There was so much in this that was just so actively goofy that it's like, okay, this is like a very certain kind of superhero story. Like there are superhero stories that it's like, oh yeah, there's goofiness in them, but they're still mostly what you would expect. But this one was very silly. It was like a very certain era of comic books, you know what I mean? Um, but I actually really enjoyed it because of that. It was funny, it was fun, it was entertaining, but you also enjoyed the grittiness of it, the darkness. And Also, again, I had no idea what this was really about and everything because I had only just seen the image and all. I knew what the character looked like. I knew it was a superhero film. That's pretty much it. So, like the master disguise part of it, I really had no clue was going to be a thing. And that was such a nice surprise. I really enjoyed that because it added just some cool moments and some like really fun ideas to this. Um, like just him disguising himself as these different guys and eventually even learning to get the voices down. It's like that was so cool. I really do like the master disguise idea, especially when it's done really well. In animation, it's easy to do it. Let's be honest. Something like Spy Family, where you see like Lloyd doing stuff like this, it's like it's not as impressive because it's animation. You draw them differently. That's all you have to do. And you can even get a different voice actor to portray the disguised voice. But with live action, like, unless you just use a different actor and all, which they did still, but it feels more impressive. Because even the actor has to portray the character as if someone else is portraying them. You know what I mean? Like, the one actor, the one who was doing the pickup, I can't remember the character's name, but the guy who was doing the pickup and then was eventually found in bed by Durant. Um, he, when that actor was, playing the character of Liam Neeson, portraying him, he had to act different. He had to act suspicious and weird and a little off. While it looked like he was trying to portray the character. And anytime you see this kind of thing where, oh, the actor has to portray as if someone is playing the character he's already been playing, it's like, that's cool to me. I really like that. It shows good range and kind of good humor for the actor to be able to do that well. And I think the actors did it. Even the one who did Durant. It's like during that scene, like them with the rotating door, and then it's like shoot him, no, shoot him. That scene was hilarious. It was so comically funny. It was so ridiculously goofy. I loved it though because it was you saw this actor playing off of that, and he did such a great job. Um, like, is a lot of this stuff dated by today? Yeah. This was a 1990 movie. A lot of the tropes and whatnot in this, of course, are very dated. A lot of the tropes have been used to death by this point, and even probably to some degree before this point. It's not really something entirely new, but you got to realize as well, in 1990, cinema wasn't flooded with the superhero genre. That's basically thanks to the onset of the MCU with Iron Man. That really kicked it into gear. But like you could even say Sam Raimi's Spider-Man really helped with that as well. But superhero movies were not as common as they are today. They were a lot less common. So stories like this, they weren't as big. Now you could say there's comparisons that can be made to stuff like RoboCop with this, of course. I mean, you have a good guy who ends up getting disfigured after a should-be fatal accident and becomes a hero afterwards while trying to kind of piece himself together and figure out who he is and who he's become. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. For sure. But at the same time, it's like, it still wasn't like the most overly done thing at that time yet. And so I feel like because you have to go into this movie realizing when this came from and view it that way. And in that regard, I think this was a blast. It wasn't the best movie ever made by any means, but it was fun, it was enjoyable, and honestly, I'm surprised I haven't seen it before, and I'm surprised I didn't know a lot about it, because a movie like this kind of seems kind of up my alley in a way. Not only is it a superhero film, but it's a goofy as fuck superhero film with kind of ridiculous effects at some points. and the acting is quite a bit over the top in a very good way. And this was one of Sam Raimi's earliest films too. Like, let me look down here. Um, yeah, Raimi had only directed 4 films prior to this. He directed It's Murder in 1977, the first 2 Evil Dead movies in 81 and 87 respectively, and Crime Wave in 85. The only one of those I've seen is the first Evil Dead. Um, this was even before Army of Darkness, the third Evil Dead film. Um, this was one of his earlier works, and obviously different from the kind of style to something like Evil Dead, but still, it shows you can see the Sam Raimi stuff in it if you know what to look for, if you've seen Sam Raimi films before. Um, and it's cool that he went back to the superhero genre with Spider-Man, and he played it more straight, like as a normal superhero Spider-Man story would be. And that was the point. That was the intent. Even though obviously there was a lot that was changed with the comic origins and everything, uh, using the not having the web shooters, for example. But I think that it was genuinely really good. And I was really impressed by this. But as always, we're going to look at some critical stuff here, some critical response. And as always, we start with Rotten Tomatoes. And as always, I keep saying that, take it with a grain of salt. It's Rotten Tomatoes. Don't judge your viewpoint on any critics, but especially on them. Because let's be honest, Rotten Tomatoes is not a good source for that kind of thing. But Rotten Tomatoes gives the film an approval rating of 84% based on reviews from 61 critics. The site's consensus states, gruesome and deliciously broad, Sam Raimi's Darkman bears the haunted soulfulness of gothic tragedy while packing the stylistic verve of onomatopoeia springing off a comic strip page. And I actually fully agree with that consensus. I think it's pretty valid. Definitely has that gothic tragedy to it. Definitely the goofy onomatopoeia springing off a comic strip page, as they said. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I even think the score, 84%, pretty fair. Pretty fair. It's not the best movie. It could be better. But it's not bad by any means. 84% is still good. Anyways, on Metacritic, the film has a score of 65 based on reviews from 15 critics, indicating generally favorable. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average rating of C+ on an A+ to F scale. Again, pretty fair. I'd give it higher than a C+. I'd say probably a B+. Maybe an A- if you want to be generous. Los Angeles Times film critic Michael Wilmington, Michael Wilmington felt that Darkman was the only film at the time that successfully captures the graphic look, rhythm, and style of the superhero books. At that time, it probably was, wasn't it? Because was this before Batman? No, was Batman 89? Batman was 89. This was after Batman. But still, I think Batman 89 had a completely different style to it anyways because of the director, to be fair. But it kind of got that Tim Burton style to it rather than the comic style. But still. Terrence Rafferty of The New Yorker said, Raimi works from inside the cheerfully violent adolescent male sensibility of superhero comics, I guess. As if there were no higher style for a filmmaker to aspire to. He definitely goes all in on it. I get that. And the absence of condescension is refreshing. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone wrote, Raimi's live-action comic book aims to deliver scares spiked with laughs. I don't really think they're scares, per se. Drama, intensity, definitely. But scares? I wouldn't really say that. USA Today gave the film 3 out of 4 stars and wrote, with good leads and a few bucks, he's come up with a high-octane revenge piece, mentionable in the same breath as its predecessors. Fair enough. Richard Corliss in Time said Raimi isn't effective with his actors, and the dialogue lacks smart menace, but his canny visual sense carries many a scene. Okay, so it seems like Richard Corliss disagreed on the entire thing with the actors and all that others seem to like. I actually thought the actors did a fantastic job with what they were given. I think they really made it work. They were definitely one of the highlights of this. Entertainment Weekly gave the film a B rating, and Owen Gleiberman wrote, "The movie is full of jaunty, grand guignol touches. The main gangster enjoys snapping and collecting fingers." I don't know what that grand guignol thing is. I don't know what that is. But Raimi's images also have a spectral kinetic beauty. In his review for the Washington Post, Joe Brown wrote, "Though Raimi seems to be trying to restrain himself, his giddily sick sense of humor still pops out all over the place." Definitely, that's what I was saying. You can very much see the Raimi-isms in this. Darkman is a frenetic funhouse ride that has you laughing and screaming at the same time. Rita Kempley, also of the Washington Post, called it a fiendishly stylish journey that links the classics of Transfiguration to the terror of our times. On the TV program At the Movies, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert gave the film 2 thumbs up. That's very big. Both remarked at how original and stylized Raimi's sense of direction was, with Siskel adding that Darkman as a character was interesting. And yeah, I agree. He had depth to him. He had character. He wasn't like this flat, boring cardboard cutout that some movies do have. Ian Nathan of Empire Magazine said the film was certainly not Raimi at his best, but some knowing genre nods and an array of great effects make up for much of the deficit. People's Ralph Novak called Darkman a loud, sadistic, stupidly written, wretchedly acted film. Okay, so there's a negative review for you. The other one was just kind of mid, like saying not Raimi at his best and all, but still a lot of positives. But yeah, this guy's like, ugh, didn't like it. And I very much disagree. It was not stupidly written or wretchedly acted. Darkman was singled out for notice by comic book writer Peter David in the Comics Buyer's Guide as the perfect superhero film of all time. Really? Although his assessment was based upon other features of the film than general quality. Okay. So just in like the kind of style and feel of it, maybe? The AV Club called Darkman a key transitional film, bridging from Byrne's Batman films while forging its own dark path to the future. Okay. And apparently, according to this, Darkman has been the subject of 2 Marvel Comics series. One a movie adaptation, the other an original sequel. So apparently Marvel Comics picked this up and did 2 series of it. So I was saying DC in the pre-thoughts, but no, it's actually Marvel. Even though it's not originally Marvel, they did pick it up for 2 series. That's still saying something. But overall, I really enjoyed this. Like, with all of those reviews and stuff, it's like, I'm definitely on the positive side of it. Like, is it the best? Are there some things that could have been done better, paced better, acted better, whatnot? Yeah. Like, I even pointed out a couple things, like, oh, they caught up with her right quick, and it's like, I thought there was going to be a scene or 2 before that. It's like, it felt like that was, like, just really sudden. It's like, oh, we have the scene where he's, like, telling Durant, it's like, we have someone we can follow. And then like, not even a full minute later, she's, like, there, and it's just like, they just get out of the cars, and it's like, oh, you're doing this already? It's like, yeah, there could have been more before that. But even with, like, little things like that, I don't think any of that ruined anything. Because, again, this was clearly trying to be a little silly, too. Because this came out after the Evil Dead movies, and the Evil Dead movies are very silly, at least from what I know of the first one. And the little bit I might have seen clips of the second and third. This came out after the first 2, and yeah, those are some silly movies. And Sam Raimi, I think, likes a little silliness amongst the horror stylings and darkness that he tends to bring to some of these movies. He kind of likes to combine that. And so I feel like it worked here. It just really worked. Um, and I enjoyed it. I don't care what anyone says. I thought this was a blast. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was entertaining. Maybe not the best, but it did its job. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So tell me in the comments below, what do you think of Darkman? And I do know there are two sequels, but I believe that just looking things up briefly, I didn't look up the plots or anything. I believe I did see that Liam Neeson does not reprise his role. I don't know who takes over for him. I think I just saw that he does not reprise his role. Again, I didn't look up any specific details. I just know that. Um, so I don't know anything about the other films, but I don't know who could take over for him that could do that like as well as he did. But I don't know. Maybe one day we'll find out. For now, though, like I said, let me know your thoughts on this one down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.